Anarchy, we get to read during the lunch hour. As I always say, we have at least 60 minutes each day for the working professionals, and within that 60 minutes, we can decide to spend it just telling stories and laughing, or we could divide it in two parts. There's a part where you get to eat your lunch. This is approximately 10 minutes or so, and then you dedicate the rest of the time to reading. It's exactly 18 past 1 p.m. I'm in Windhoek, Namibia, so I have at least 40 minutes to get through this book, and after that, then I'll go to my desk and go work. What a privilege! What a privilege! So I am reading this book. It's Big Trust by Dr. Shudder, and over the past days, I've been reading the chapters where she's talking about for us to eliminate self doubt. A lot of us struggle with self doubt, right? So she's telling us that for us to eliminate self doubt, there are certain attributes which we need to strengthen in our lives. And these are the attributes. She spoke about acceptance, you and I being at a space or at a place where we accept who we are, right? And acknowledging that there are certain areas that we need to improve, but should those limitations should not derail us from showing up at our level best. We need to accept who we are and where we are, while still dancing around those um, limitations. That is with acceptance. And then she also spoke about having high agency. High agency, a lot of us use it um, in parallel or simultaneously as, not simultaneously, but we use it the same almost as acceptance. But what she is telling us, having high agency is your ability to be able to trust in your capabilities. And when you have high agency, you basically operate at a level where you don't dwell on self doubt because you're able to center yourself, you're able to acknowledge that with the abilities that I have, with the capabilities that I have, I'll be able to push through this task that is at hand or through this scenario that you're going through. So she spoke about acceptance, agency, and yesterday I read about the third attribute, which is adaptability. And she is just saying that as human beings, we go through various emotions, and some of the emotions they will shake us, right? And while in that space, in most cases, we are not able to trust ourselves because of the emotions that we're going through. So she's teaching us that we should be able to operate within that emotion, observe the emotion, be it an emotion of anger, be it an emotion of sadness, be it an emotion of any emotion that is shaking you up and you're not able to operate fully, be able to observe it, be able to sit with it and observe it, and let it not change who you are. And she has a very good example in her book where she is showing us that you can actually, while you're experiencing that emotion, with an emotion of anger, you can basically just um, write it down and analyze it in terms of this is how I'm feeling now. Where am I with this emotion? Yes, of course, I am feeling angry, but do I need to react angry or act angry? Although the emotion is that of anger. And give it time. Give it time in a way that pause your reaction. Don't react immediately. And you notice that the more time you have, the better you you get in terms of how you feel. You eventually then move from being so angry or so sad to a level where you no longer feel anything towards that scenario which happened because you've given yourself enough time to reflect or just not to do anything about that emotion. So that is what she is teaching us when it comes to adaptability. So this is the book. I may not really say everything as she wrote it simply because I read this book only once, and as a long life learner that I consider myself to be, is that I really take time to understand some of the teachings that I get from books. I need to read the book once, twice, and sometimes even thrice, then only I'll get to understand that, aha, this is what the author is teaching us. But there's no harm in just, sharing with you what I read, and you might as well get the book and just interpret it for yourself. To be honest, it's one of the books that I wish I had read long time ago. But before I continue, or before I rather start, sorry, reading the book silently, I just want to share with you guys something that I was listening to today. It's a podcast, right? This is a podcast where there is Adam Grant and Brene Brown. Yeah? For those who know the two guys, Brene Brown um, and Adam Grant. Look, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this message, right? Somebody posted, "Are you crazy?" Yeah, so this is the reason why we really need to read some of these books. Usually, I would read a comment like that which says, "Are you crazy?" And I will ponder around it, right, in terms of like, "Ooh, am I sounding crazy? Is this person interpreting this as crazy?" But now that I have read a good attribute from this book, which talks about adaptability, learning to handle your emotions, I'm actually reading this comment and finding it even more funny to say like, "Oh, really? Look at this perspective." So this comment is not making me angry because, for one, I know I'm not crazy. Why would I think I'm like? Why would a crazy person go on YouTube and find the button where there's go live and still switch on that part and say live, and you want to think that this person is crazy? I don't think so. So this is what this book is teaching us: our ability to adapt, our ability to adapt in any emotion or scenario that we get to find ourselves. But anyway, before I got derailed on this interesting comment, I was sharing about a podcast which I was just listening to, where there's Adam Grant and Brene Brown. I think the name of the podcast is called Curiosity, Curiosity, Curiosity Shop, if I'm not mistaken. So Brene Brown is a researcher, right? Is a lady who talks about shape, how to strengthen um, your mental ability, basically to strengthen your approach on how you sit in shame. Should you find yourself in a situation where shame is at the center? And Adam Grant, he's also Adam Grant. I would want to call him a behavioral scientist because this is a guy that works with like big companies when it comes to behavioral science. He's trying to teach us basically to just become a better version of ourselves. And in the podcast that I was listening to, they were talking about they're basically just going through the book that Adam Grant wrote, and this book is called Rethink. Think? No. I'm quoting it wrong. This book is titled Think Again, right? And they were discussing how we as individuals, right? How we speak, how we approach life. We always have four mindsets. It's either you're a politician, where you are justifying your position so much that you're even going as high as getting people to come to your team so that you jointly um, protect this opinion that you have, right? Secondly, there is the preacher. The preacher could be just philosophers, people like me, maybe. I don't know, where we just learn something, then we hype, teach people about it. And there's a politician, there's a judge. Yes, a judge. This is a person who is always convicted. Hmm. This person never tries to unlearn, never tries to move away from their conviction because um, they they've invested so much knowledge in that specific belief or that specific opinion, they do not allow themselves to move away from that opinion. These people are called judges. Yeah? And then in our mind also we go through the fourth person who is called a scientist. This is a curious person. This is a person who is always willing to put themselves in let me just set up this car.
Shared and based on the evidence that I have now towards this particular opinion, I am actually changing my opinion. This is a scientist mind, right? So in that podcast, they are advising us, right? That is now Brené Brown and Adam Grant. They are advising us to always operate, or rather, lean toward the scientist mode, which is, or scientist mind, which is so hard. It's so hard to not be convicted. It's so hard not to preach. It's so hard not to judge. It's so hard not to just not have an opinion, you know? It's so hard, but it's something that we should consider, right? We should consider having an agile mind and a mind that is not convicted to anything, you know. Which it's really hard, and I think the reason why all of us or most of us we find ourselves conflicted is because of these various areas in our mind where we are always moving to. We are always either in the preaching mind, or we are either in the judge mind, or we are either um, in the preacher, judge. What's the other one? The scientist, etc. So I found that podcast very interesting, actually, or that episode. So it's just something I thought maybe I should share since I still have 30 minutes before reading. And check it out. It's the Curiosity Shop, hosted by Brené Brown and Adam Grant. Yeah. Yep. Yep. You know, life is so complex. Like, I don't even know how I would really be if it was not because of authors who are able to share their teachings through books, through whatever mode of reference. I don't know where I would be, or you would also be, because this we live in a world where there's a lot of intelligent people, you know, and some of these intelligent people, we want to, if we're to select who to make our friend or to befriend, some of these intelligent people, you just want to have them in your corner. You want to have them, like in my house. I have a lot of books, man. So I see my house as a place where I just chill with smart people who are teaching me. Where I just chill with smart people who are teaching me about life, about my finances, about spirituality, about religion. Okay, spirituality, about just to be me, like about life, whatever. Because there's nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose when it comes to reading. To be honest, if there's something rather to gain. And and yeah, keep a curious mind. Keep a curious mind, as Brene Brown and Adam Grant are telling us to be. And yeah, anyway, this is supposed to be a reading session, but I just love sharing some of these what I get to read. So apart from me listening to that podcast where with Brene Brown and Adam Grant, yesterday was Sunday, right? Yesterday I listened to another podcast. This is the Oprah Winfrey podcast, yeah. And on this podcast, on this episode, particular episode, Oprah invited the guys. There was a word they used, man. Did she say autism? Whatever. I don't know really the right word for this crew. So these are the guys who went to the moon. They returned from the moon recently. So on this podcast or episode, they were just sharing the experience they had when they went to the moon. Ideally, I don't know, my assumption was that they were going to share with us how things at the moon look like, right? I expected them maybe to tell us how the galaxy look like, all these physics, terminologies, the atoms, the what, but there's something that actually stood out from one of the crew members. I think this guy was called. He was what? He's not the commander, but he was. He's not the commander. He's neither the pilot. I think he's a specialist. But you can check out the podcast. The Oprah podcast is one of the latest episodes. So this guy said, when he was at the moon, né? If there's something that stood out, or if there's something that he wanted to share with us upon his return, was ask big questions. And this guy said when he was on the moon looking at planet Earth from a distance, planet Earth looked like a small round ball, right? And on this, or in this small round ball, this is now where we are as human beings. And we are a cohort of people who are so fixated in proving what is right, what is wrong, who is right, who is wrong. And in actual fact, there's more to life. It's like we're in this small bubble where we're just like pushing each other and missing out, basically. This is what he was telling us. And that, I feel, it ties in well with what Adam Grant is teaching us, to have a curious mind, being able to ask big questions, being able to rethink our opinions, rethink our beliefs, rethink our convictions, and be able to move away from those convictions. Oh man. Yep. For me, that is so profound. And I'm just glad that I'm able to blend the two, would I say, information or teachings, because I just feel like it gives us so much freedom. If we all knew on earth that nothing is absolute in terms of there's oh man, I don't even know how best to explain this, but I just wish if we all had access to the information that nothing is absolute. There's so much flexibility in terms of us being able to change our minds, being able to change our opinions, being able to move away from convictions. I think a lot of us will have a lot of freedom and flexibility. Because I'm just looking at as a professional, right? We I wish I knew this earlier. We find ourselves sometimes trying to prove a point in terms of I'm able to deliver my skills, are polished. I am the right person. I am the right. We are always trying to prove. We are always trying to do more. And there's nothing wrong with doing more. But I just feel like we don't have the flexibility of knowing that actually it's okay sometimes to acknowledge that I don't know this or I don't understand this. It's just for me that for me is so profound. It's so profound to know that I'm allowed to change my mind whenever. It's so profound to know that I'm allowed, yeah? I'm allowed to iterate. Yeah. And this is the right word that I actually want to share that I heard Brene Brown say. She is saying that how she lives her life, right? She uses an experimental approach where there's nothing that is absolute. She's able to just test, learn, fail, test, learn, fail, test, learn, fail in all areas of her life. And I think this is the reason why she's such a very open minded person, because she is always willing to test out new things. She is not a what? She's not someone who just follow trends. No. She's someone who knows that there's so much flexibility in her life. She's able to test new things, learn from those things, and live her life based on that. Oh man, I wish a lot of us had this flexibility, to be honest. I just wish. The flexibility of knowing that we can always change our mind. We live in a world where we can't we don't allow ourselves to grow, you know where you hear people make statements like the internet does not forget. Whatever you've posted, just know that the internet does not forget. People will go and dig that one post and bring receipts and tell you that this is your opinion, this is what you had at the time. Remember, now you're saying something different. Yes, now you can say something different because you are allowed to rethink. You are allowed to relearn. Oh my gosh. You are allowed to move away from you are allowed basically you are allowed to move away from an opinion which you had in 2020. In 2021, you are allowed to change from a conviction which you had in 2016. That is growth. I think for me, if we are to criticize, moving on, if we are to criticize, we need to criticize those who do not evolve, those who are always convicted to certain things, because for me that shows that there's no growth. Anyway, I just needed to share these thoughts. So interesting how life is. I now have 20 minutes before my lunch hour ends. Let me just read silently this amazing book that I'm reading by Dr. Sade. Whew, what a life. Thank you, Lord. Okay, now I need
Okay, I love this. I'm going to read this out. Hmm. When you face any situation that carries risk, rejection, failure, criticism, take your pick. Self doubt creeps in, and your brain defaults to seeing it as big, looming threat you need to defend yourself against. You don't consciously choose this response. It's a survival instinct at work trying to protect you. I love this. Studies show that when you interpret a potentially stress, stressful situation as something manageable or a chance to grow, your body adapts to how to perform. Your body opens up, your circulation improves, and you literally see more. Your pupils dilate to take in the broader context. Your brain releases neurotrophins, which are proteins involved in neuroplasticity. Aha! Helping your brain cells grow, adapt, and create new pathways. So this is how neuroplasticity happens. When you interpret a potentially stressful situation as something manageable, this situation is stressful. Yet your interpretation is that